Okay. Good evening, all of you. Hope
Good
you can
evening,
hear
ma'am.
me. Okay. So now see here, we are going to discuss the dural venous sinuses. Okay. So what are the dural venous sinuses? Now see here, basically when you see the skull bone, when you just remove the calvaria, that is the cranial vault, below the cranial vault we have three meninges. The outermost covering is dura mater, below which we have arachnoid matter, below which closely investing the brain we have is pia mater. So now, what is this cerebral dura mater? This is the outermost covering, isn't it? So the dura mater has further two layers, that is endosteal layer and meningeal layer. So between the endosteal layer and meningeal layer, we will see the venous blood flowing. That is nothing but dural venous sinus. Okay. Now see here, this picture is very good from Netter's Atlas. So now see here. Now these are the layers of scalp. Okay. Okay, then we have, this is our skull bone. This is the outer table periosteum. This is the inner table endosteum. In between, you call it as diplo. These are the emissory veins. Okay, and this is our dura mater, which is shown in gray color. Okay, so the layer which is moving outside is the endosteal layer, and the layer which we have like this, which has split to enclose venous blood, is the meningeal layer. So between the endosteal and meningeal layer, we have the venous blood. Okay, so that venous blood which you find inside the dura mater is nothing but dural venous sinus. Okay, then so endosteal layer lines the inner surface of the skull bone, and it is not continuous with the dura mater of spinal cord. Okay, meningeal layer is the dura mater proper, which is covering the brain. And of course it folds also. No, do you remember we have certain partitions between two cerebral hemispheres, falx cerebri, falx
Corpus
cerebrale.
callosum. Also,
Corpus callosum is connection between the brain, beta. That is the white matter of the brain, no? We are
okay, okay.
talking about meninges now. We are covering. We are still in the coverings of brain. Okay. So we are, of
Yes,
course, we will discuss. So we have between the two cerebral hemispheres, there is fold of dura mater. I'm asking you now, not about connections.
yes.
That is
Okay.
falx cerebri. Okay. So like that, we have so many folds. Okay. Falx. Do you anybody remembers names? Falx cerebri, falx cerebelli,
Tentorium
tentorium
cerebelli.
cerebelli, and diaphragma
Diaphragm
cerebelli.
muscle.
Okay. Now see, this is one, the meningeal layer has just folded inwards. Suppose this is one cerebral hemisphere, this is one more cerebral hemisphere. So between the two cerebral hemispheres, we have falx cerebri. Okay. Then if you consider the posterior cranial fossa, that will be deep. So there you will see at the petrous part of the temporal bone, here you will have the attachment of tentorium cerebelli. Above the tent, we have occipital lobes. Below the tent, we have cerebellum. Like that, you can remember. Of course, much better pictures will be there. I will show you. Okay. So two folds of dura are shown here. One is falx cerebri and the other is tentorium cerebelli. Now, dural venous sinus is situated between the endosteal and the meningeal layers of dura mater. The dural venous sinuses are lined by endothelium, and their walls are thick, but they are devoid of muscular tissue. If you just try to remember the histology of vein, we have tunica intima, tunica media, and tunica adventitia, isn't it? So, but here only the lining cells are endothelial cells. That's it. We do not have any muscular tissue. We don't even have valves here, because why the valves are not there? Because the blood is flowing towards the gravity, isn't it? That's the reason we do not have any valves, though they are veins. Okay. Now the functions, now see, so many dural venous sinuses are there. As we proceed, I will name them. Okay. So the function is to receive blood from the brain through cerebral veins. Okay, and also it receives the cerebrospinal fluid from the subarachnoid space through arachnoid villi. Okay, so arachnoid villi are, these are pink areas, whatever you are seeing there. So these are the arachnoid villi. From there, CSF is also pouring into the dural venous sinus. Okay, That is the function. So this is the arachnoid villus from arachnoid matter. There pink color was used, here green color. Okay. Now the blood in the dural venous sinuses ultimately drains out, no, because everywhere the blood has to go out into the right atrium. So it is taking the channel of internal jugular vein in the neck. Okay, and there are connections of the veins of the skull bone. Okay, and we have certain holes in the skull bone, like if you can see here, you are finding in the skull bone, this is one parietal foramen, this is one more parietal foramen. Okay, this is the sagittal suture. Okay, so frontal bone, no? So the norma frontalis you are seeing. Okay, then this is like between the two parietal bones we have sagittal suture, and if you can see, actually two holes are here between the
Parietal foramen.
these are the parietal foraminae. That means through this parietal foraminae, the veins which are there over the scalp will be going inside, and they will get connected to the dural venous sinus. Okay, those are actually the parietal emissory veins which I have shown you. They will be connected to superior sagittal sinus. Like that, we have emissory veins, many in number, which are connecting the veins of the scalp with the veins of the dural venous sinus. That's the reason the any infection is there in the scalp. Okay, especially in the fourth layer. Okay, that is the loose connective tissue area. There, the infection can easily spread to the brain because of the connection through emissory veins. Okay, so emissory veins are also valveless. They connect the dural venous sinus with the diploic veins of the skull and with the veins of the scalp. Diplo, I have just shown you, diplo like in the other pictures. These are the diploic veins. Between the outer table of the skull and inner table of the skull, whatever veins are there, these are the diploic veins. Okay, which are of course getting connected through emissory veins. Okay. Then now let us name them better. What are the dural? Now you have understood the definition, no? And I was talking about falx cerebri. This is one of the meningeal layer of the dura mater, which has folded inside and which is separating the two cerebral hemispheres. Suppose this is falx cerebri, this pink partition what you have. Okay, this is seen between the two cerebral hemispheres. Now, associated with falx cerebri only, we find so many dural venous sinuses. We have paired ones, we have unpaired ones. Okay, now if you see from this falx cerebri, okay, so the attachments of falx cerebri, here anteriorly it will be attached to the crista galli, posteriorly it will be attached to the falx, like tentorium cerebelli, in the middle of tentorium cerebelli, exactly in the middle, like this it comes and gets attached. This point is the middle part of the tentorium cerebelli. I'll show in another picture the other view. So when you see the falx cerebri, what are we finding? There is one blue vein above. You name it as superior sagittal sinus. There is one free margin of this falx cerebri. The upper one is attached margin and the lower one is free margin. In the free margin, we have inferior sagittal sinus. This sinus is the straight sinus. Okay. Then we also have this sinus is transverse sinus. S-shaped sinus is sigmoid sinus. Towards the occipital bone, we have occipital sinus. Okay. So in the other section, I will show you the superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, and the most important one is cavernous sinus. Okay. Now, let us name the paired and unpaired one. If you find both on right side and left side, so suppose this is the location for cavernous sinus. So if you find sinuses on right and left side, you call them as paired sinuses. Like suppose this one. This is one cavernous sinus, this is one more cavernous sinus. This is paired. Okay. Transverse sinus is also 2 in number. Okay. Then superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus is also 2 in number. Okay. So like that, sigmoid sinus, S-shaped one also will be 2 in number. Okay, so that means there are some sinuses which are present on right and left side correspondingly. You call them as paired. Whereas when you have seen the first picture like this, like superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight sinus. Okay, some sinuses are only one in number. So we call them as unpaired sinuses. Okay, you got an idea how do they look? So now the paired ones, okay, we have cavernous, superior and inferior petrosal sinus, transverse and sigmoid. Unpaired ones are superior and inferior sagittal, straight and occipital. We will see all these sinuses. Okay, so this is associated with falx cerebri superiorly. This is associated with falx cerebri inferiorly. Superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus. Okay. Now let us describe this superior sagittal sinus. It is occupying the upper fixed border of the falx cerebri. Okay, it is, now I told you about, see, this is the cranial cavity. Okay, and this is cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, and the middle projection is actually crista galli, isn't it? The falx cerebri is exactly taking its attachment here, the anterior attachment. So here you will have a hole also. You call that hole as foramen cecum. Okay, foramen cecum we have seen when we were doing the development of tongue also. Don't get confused. There are certain terms which are used in many places in anatomy. Okay, so like that. Styloid process we find with skull bone. Styloid process we also find with the radius and ulna bones also, no, like that. Okay, so then now you are finding like this falx cerebri. If you just look at the picture, you will understand more better. Okay, it is basically starting from crista galli. It is running upwards, backwards, downwards, and then it is getting attached to the middle part of the tentorium cerebelli. Okay, then so that is what is written here. It runs posteriorly, grooving the vault of the skull. Okay, it deviates either to right or left side, but of course in midline only slight deviation like we find with nasal septum. Okay, and it is going up to the internal occipital protuberance. Okay, and it becomes continuous with the transverse sinus. Okay, suppose this is the superior sagittal sinus. Okay, behind it becomes continuous with the transverse sinus. It's named here, you can see. See, this is the superior sagittal sinus. It will drain either into the right or left. The meeting point of superior sagittal sinus, right and left transverse sinus, okay, and inferior sagittal sinus, occipital sinus, all sinuses meeting point is actually called as confluence of sinuses. Okay, confluence of sinuses. So, okay, this point is over. So, confluence is formed at the internal occipital protuberance. So, this is external occipital protuberance. I can show you in the skull bone. If you remove this cranial vault, inside correspondingly, we have one more elevation inside the cranial cavity. Correspondingly, that is the internal occipital protuberance where you have the confluence. Okay, then basically the superior sagittal sinus, most of the times it is becoming continuous with right transverse sinus. Okay, then it is also receiving occipital sinus also. In other view I will show you. Now let us try to name these sinuses. See here, what is this sinus? This is anterior end of the skull bone now in this picture. This is confluence of sinus, posterior end of the skull bone. Let us try to name the sinuses. This is superior sagittal sinus with falx cerebri. This is inferior sagittal sinus. This is straight sinus. This is confluence of sinuses. Okay. This is occipital sinus. This is right transverse sinus, left transverse sinus. If you see the continuation of transverse sinus, it is becoming S-shaped, sigmoid, sigmoid sinus. The S shape is the final exit point. Sigmoid sinus will go out through the jugular foramen as in the form of internal jugular vein. That means all these dural venous sinuses will pour their blood. Finally, the venous blood is entering into the internal jugular vein. So, few sinuses which you can see here I have shown you. Apart from that, on either side of the hypophyseal fossa, where we have the pituitary gland, there we have the right and left cavernous sinuses. Okay, this we will do anyhow separately. You will see more clearly. So, numerous arachnoid villi and granulations project into the lacunae, which also receive the these points are not so much important, but you will get confused unnecessarily. Actually, this is dura mater intact. When you have done no dissection, this idea you will have dura mater. Okay, and this is the area of falx cerebri. This is exactly the superior sagittal sinus, and these granulations are there. Okay, these are called as arachnoid granulations, and these granulations are more seen in old skull bones. in old cadavers when you compare with young cadavers. Okay, that means as the age advances, you will see more number of arachnoid granulations. Okay, now, which is the inferior sagittal sinus? The one which is associated with the free margin of falx cerebri. It occupies the lower free margin. It is also running backwards, and here there is a vein actually. This is actually straight sinus. In continuation with straight sinus, the name of this vein is great cerebral vein of Galen. Okay, so the inferior sagittal sinus is becoming continuous with, that means it's pouring its blood into the great cerebral vein at the free margin of tentorium cerebelli to form the straight sinus. Further continuation, you call it as straight sinus. Okay, this is, you can see more clearly. Superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus. This is straight sinus, and the great cerebral vein is continuing into the straight sinus. This is confluence of sinus, meeting point. Okay, so here also you can see with brain, here the picture is shown now. Inferior, this is corpus callosum, what Imad you got confused with. Okay, connecting the two cerebral hemispheres. So the inferior sagittal sinus receives few cerebral veins from the medial surface of the cerebral hemispheres. You can see here all these veins. This we will discuss when we are doing the blood supply and venous drainage of the brain. This is our straight sinus, formed by the union of inferior sagittal sinus with great cerebral vein. It occupies the line of junction of the falx cerebri with tentorium cerebelli. This point I will help you with the hint. If you have really done dissection well and if you have seen inside the skull bone, it will be amazing in fact. Okay. It ends by turning to the left, sometimes to the right, the straight sinus. Okay, and it is now draining into transverse sinus. Okay. How many transverse sinuses are there? See, this is one transverse
Two
sinus.
trans.
This two transverse sinuses. Okay, right and left transverse sinus. They are paired that begin at the internal occipital protuberance. Okay, right sinus is usually continuous with, just now I told you, superior sagittal sinus. Left transverse sinus is basically, of course, veins will have many variations. These are only arbitrary things. Left is most of the times in continuation with straight sinus. Okay. So transverse sinus is not only receiving superior sagittal sinus and straight sinus. Okay. They also receive the venous blood from superior petrosal sinus, inferior cerebral vein, cerebellar veins, and also diploic veins. We will see these veins as we proceed. Okay, so this is right transverse sinus, then this is left transverse sinus. Okay, so they actually this whole area will be occupied by tent, as though tent is kept over there. That tent is one more fold of dura mater, which is called as tentorium cerebelli. Above the tent we have occipital lobes, below the tent we have cerebellum, cerebellar hemispheres. Like that you will get one idea how to like a little bit of imagination. Of course, practically also you have seen all these things. So each sinus occupies the attached margin of the tentorium cerebelli. Okay, grooving the occipital bone. This is all occipital bone, isn't it? Then it is continuing with this bone. This is parietal. It is becoming continuous with the posterior inferior angle of the parietal bone. Okay. Then what is S-shaped sinus? I told you the transverse sinus is in,
Sigmoid.
yeah, sigmoid.
Sigmoid.
Very good. So the transverse sinus is now becoming continuous with the sigmoid sinus. Okay. The sigmoid sinuses are direct continuation of transverse sinuses. Each sinus will turn downwards. No? Where is it opening? I told you. It is.
Internal jugular.
Into the internal jugular vein.
What is the foramen through which it is going out?
Jugular foramen.
Jugular foramen.
Jugular foramen. I can show you jugular foramen in the skull bone if you can see a little bit. See this big hole, whatever you are seeing here. Here is the foramen magnum. Okay. Then on either side of the foramen magnum, you are finding two big projections. No, this is one occipital condyle. This is one more occipital condyle. Okay. If you just put a probe right in front of occipital condyle. I'm showing I'm passing one probe here. Okay, one stick here. So much clarity you
Ma'am, can
can't
you
see.
turn the yes, ma'am? Turn the skull a little to the left, ma'am. Just a little to the left. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here. So much clarity is difficult only, beta.
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Okay, right in front of the occipital bone, occipital condyles, you have this big hole. Okay, that is jugular foramen. So through this jugular foramen, the internal jugular, where exactly I kept my finger, there you will see the internal jugular vein. The continuation of sigmoid sinus, it continues as internal jugular vein. Okay, internal jugular vein drains into which vein?
Yeah.
Brachiocephalic.
The vena, the brachiocephalic.
Right and left brachiocephalics will join to form superior vena cava.
Superior vena cava.
Where is the superior vena cava opening?
Right
The
atrium.
right atrium.
Very good. It is opening into the right atrium. Okay. Now see, this is the superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, great cerebral vein, straight sinus, confluence of sinus, transverse sinus, right and left transverse sinuses. This is the tent shape. Tent. Can you see this tent now? This is
Yes, yes, ma'am.
this tent is nothing but tentorium cerebelli. The posterior end of falx has come and it is resting on the midpoint of the tentorium cerebelli. Above the tent, we will have occipital lobes of cerebrum. Below the tent, we will have cerebellum. Okay. So this is right transverse sinus. The other left transverse sinus view is obliterated because of falx cerebri. But still some part of it you can see, and continuation is sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid sinus will be finally opening outside. Okay. Through jugular foramen. This is our textbook Netter's picture. Here also we have certain so here also you are finding certain sinuses which were not seen previously very clearly. So this is anterior cranial fossa, this is middle cranial fossa, this is posterior cranial fossa. So in the anterior cranial fossa, this area is cribriform plate of ethmoid bone and this area is crista galli. Okay, this is olfactory bulb and olfactory tract that shows the first cranial nerve here. Okay, anyhow we are not discussing that now. This is orbit. Inside the orbit we have eyeball and this is optic nerve. Optic nerve is coming out through optic canal. This is the second cranial nerve. This is our hypophyseal fossa. Okay, sella turcica. On either side you have the cavernous sinus. Okay, this is, what is this area beta? Superior orbital. Like when you see from the skull bone, this area is called as superior orbital fissure. Okay. I am naming it because we should understand the relations of cavernous sinus. It's an essay question. So anteriorly, this is one cavernous sinus. This is cavernous sinus is cut here in order to show what it is related to. Actually, we should come cranial nerves in order. Suppose if this is first, then this becomes second, no? Oculomotor, third, fourth, trochlear, oculomotor, trochlear. Then these three subdivisions you are finding is trigeminal. Oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal with its ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular divisions. This forms the lateral boundary. Okay, this plexus of veins is called as basilar venous plexus. Okay. This is superior petrosal sinus. Correspondingly, if you just rip it off and if you see down, there will be one more petrosal sinus, that is inferior petrosal sinus. This is straight sinus, right transverse sinus, left transverse sinus. If you remove this, what is this? Tentorium cerebelli. One side it is intact. No, the other side it is cut. Show the continuation of the right transverse sinus as sigmoid sinus. Of course, the sigmoid sinus will continue as
internal jugular vein.
Internal jugular vein.
Very good. What is this?
Straight sinus. Oh, okay, great. Okay, great cerebral vein.
Great cerebral vein. All of you talk better, only 2, 3. Now the other voice, it is so nice to hear. Okay. The sigmoid sinuses, they become continuous with the superior bulb of internal jugular vein. Okay. Then the sinus which is found towards the occipital bone, we call it as occipital sinus. It's a small sinus, okay, which is attached to the margin of falx cerebelli. What is falx cerebelli? The part, like you have seen one partition between two cerebral hemispheres. Similarly, there will be a small partition between the two cerebellar hemispheres, because below the tent we have cerebellar hemispheres. So between the cerebellar hemispheres, whatever small partition we get, that is nothing but falx cerebelli. So along that falx cerebelli, where arrow is shown, black arrow, that is nothing but occipital sinus. Okay. So the occipital sinus is basically starting from foramen magnum. So that means it is communicating with the vertebral veins and it's draining its blood at the meeting point of all sinuses. What is the meeting point of all sinuses called as?
Confluence of sinuses.
Confluence of sinuses. Okay. Now cavernous sinus is always essay question beta. It's very, very important. Okay. Now, where do we find cavernous sinus? See, actually I can help you cavernous sinus completely with the help of this beautiful picture. In fact, we can discuss everything. Now, cavernous sinus is again, it's a split, no? Like it's a, you can consider cavernous sinus as a box, okay, with 6 boundaries, okay, which is enclosing venous blood. So this cavernous sinus is present in which cranial fossa?
Middle cranial fossa.
Middle cranial fossa. On either side of?
Basilar venous plexus.
Okay. Any other term can be used?
Hypophyseal.
Hypophysis. Like, what is this whole area called as sella turcica, isn't it?
Okay, okay.
Where we
So-
have this, what is this gland? Pituitary gland, isn't it?
Pituitary
Cranial
gland.
or the pituitary gland.
Pituitary beta. This is hypophyseal fossa. On either side, because pituitary gland is also called as hypophysis cerebri, isn't it? So on either
Yes, ma'am.
side of the word which is used in your textbooks is, on either side of hypophyseal fossa, we have a pair of cavernous sinus. Okay. Now what the cavernous sinus is anteriorly related to, what is the name of this structure I told you just now?
The superior orbital fissure.
Very good, superior orbital fissure. Now this is the posterior end of this sinus beta. This is whole thing is sinus. The posterior end of the sinus, because dura is this side dura is intact. This side dura is dissected. You can see the skull bone. Okay.
Mm.
So this particular part of the skull bone is petrous part of this temporal bone. Petrous part. Petrous means very much irregular. So where I'm pointing the arrow now is the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Okay. Why I'm naming it now? Because see, the posterior relation of cavernous sinus is posteriorly it is related to apex of petrous part of the temporal bone. Medially,
Medially, it
Hypophyseal
is related
fossa.
to the hypophysis cerebri.
Very good.
Hypophyseal fossa.
Hypophyseal fossa. Mm.
with the very good. Medially, it is related to hypophyseal fossa containing the hypophysis cerebri. Very good. Laterally, this becomes lateral. No, beta. Can you see the shadow here? Trigeminal, big one is easily seen. You are finding other nerves. That means you have cut the roof now. You want clarity of cavernous sinus. So the roof, medial and lateral walls have been stripped off.
Mm.
So that now you are finding certain structures in the lateral wall. No? So try to remember third, fourth and fifth cranial nerves. What are those? Oculomotor, trochlear and trigeminal. Isn't it?
Mm.
Trigeminal has 3 subdivisions. What are those?
Mm.
Ophthalmic, maxillary.
Maxillary mandibular.
Very good. Now, if you remember, the oculomotor, trochlear and ophthalmic division of trigeminal will enter inside the orbit because they have to supply extraocular muscles. No?
Yes.
So, what is the area they should choose to enter into the orbit?
Superior orbital fissure.
Very good. It passes through superior orbital fissure. Okay. Then. only ophthalmic division is going like that. Then what about the maxillary and mandibular divisions? Okay. Okay, anyhow, that is not the part. Now see here. Laterally, you should know third, fourth, and fifth cranial. The two ophthalmic division. Okay. Then. So now, did you understand the orientation of cavernous sinus, where it is present and how it is related? Roof is related to this optic chiasma. See, this is right optic nerve, left optic nerve. It will crisscross and it will form optic chiasma. Okay, there actually the roof will be related to optic chiasma. In the center, are you finding there is one artery? What is that
Internal
artery?
carotid artery.
Internal carotid artery. One of the branches of internal carotid artery is entering into the orbit. Ophthalmic artery.
Okay.
Okay, ophthalmic artery. It accompanies optic nerve. Okay. Now you should keep this picture in mind while reading theoretical aspects. Okay. Because this picture is too good for explanation purpose. Okay. Now, because cavernous sinus is 100% essay question. 99.9% every time paper 1 essay usually is cavernous sinus. So cavernous sinus is situated in middle cranial fossa on each side of the body of the sphenoid bone. We have told very specifically like it is the pituitary fossa or hypophysis fossa. Each sinus extends from superior orbital fissure to the apex of the petrous part